trivia night team name I've ever heard in my entire life.
What's that?
It was so we ended up at Lou's last week on a Wednesday, and they had, you know how people come up with like funny like trivia names for their teams and everything like that. There was this one team whose name was "I wish this mic was a dick," as the guy is like announcing the team names over a microphone, obviously. The most like creative.
Team Bubblegum, 30 points. I wish this mic was a dick, 45 points.
So he said it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. What's going on, guys?
Just another great day in paradise.
Yeah, you know, a nice, crisp, warm 19 degrees outside, you know.
Yeah, that's Missouri.
Yeah, living the dream, man.
Yeah, well, welcome to Talk Junkies, ladies and gentlemen. We got Jesse in the house and Johnny. I don't know if Jesse's talked to you, Johnny, but we would like to have you on every week, man.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't have to, but
no, I'm cool with that. Like I said, I told him I was like, I don't want to step into you guys' thing or whatnot, but like I like doing it, and if you guys are cool with having me here, fuck it.
Yeah, we like having you on, man.
Yeah, you're not. No one's ever stepping in on our juice, man. You bring a lot of hot fire to the table, dude.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
sure.
the hot fire,
for sure.
the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. I was thinking just what I want to talk about today, and it's I don't know if it's going to be as good as this mic is a dick kind of thing, but dude, there's just some crazy stuff going on as usual in the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading something today, and no one's really talking about it besides a few outlets, but Russia's going to have an exercise sometime before April. Man, this is not good. I can't talk already.
We believe in you, Paul.
Yeah, sometime before April 1st, where they're actually going to shut down the internet in the whole country in preparations for just an exercise for their country, basically.
So it's like a test.
Yeah. So, the test leads into them trying to create their own internet, as opposed to live off the world internet.
Oh, okay. Because the way you were saying it, I was thinking it's a test in case something happens to the internet,
right,
like some kind of nuclear fallout or whatever, blah, blah. They're
that's
we got to get people prepared
not,
to not have internet.
So that's not what they're worried about.
Well, no, it's a little bit of both. One, they want to have their own internet, and the reason they want to have their own internet is because if something like that were to happen, if, you know, an EMP wave were to hit...
That completely defeats the purpose.
What do you mean?
Okay, let's say you have your own internet, and then something like that does happen.
Yeah.
Your own internet isn't the internet. The entire purpose of the internet is that it's this massive amount of knowledge from everybody all over the world.
No, that makes sense.
With unlimited access. I mean, there's stuff we get filtered through stuff by Google and whatnot, but obviously there's that like whole part of the dark net or the dark web or whatever that nobody ever sees. You can literally put anything you want online.
Yeah.
If you have the know-how to. Like, and I feel like them creating their own internet, that's not real internet. That's just a connection. That's like us saying like, that's like phones. When we had phones back in the day, so you can call each other in the same country kind of thing.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good way to like deceive people and to be like, hey, we're going to control information now. Like,
yes,
now this
much,
is an ability
much,
to control
sure.
information is what that sounds like.
That's probably what it's for, because that's, I mean, I don't know. I've never been to Russia. I don't know how their government is. I mean, obviously people say stuff about it, but at the same time, if something were to happen in the United States and the internet were to go down, it would be nice to have a backup, regardless of if you're trying to be, you know,
like an emergency services kind of, the internet stays up but on a different like level. Like I don't even know how the fuck that would work.
To me, that once again doesn't make sense, because the internet is the internet. What you're talking about would literally, or what they're talking about, creating your own. Like if we were to create our own that is literally just for the United States, nobody else has access to it, and it goes through a different network, like a different series of lines and cables and all that stuff, a different infrastructure that has a backup to it, like that won't go down whenever the regular one goes down. That's not internet. That's literally like a compiled list of, it's like encyclopedias. That's like saving a web page. That's like saving a hard copy of Wikipedia.
In today's age, though, people are very obsessed with the internet. So
true.
I mean, I would take, if something were to happen, I would take no internet. I would take internet over no internet, no matter what it is.
Obviously.
You know, I would like to still have access to videos and stuff like that, internet. And
it's extremely important
in
this, you know. And it's extremely important that it stays uncorrupted, too, to the best of its ability, to where people can still exchange information, you know, and give opinions and stuff like that, and then, you know, and have that source. I don't ever want to see the internet become corrupted.
That's why I think YouTube was so great when it first came out. I'm not saying it's still not good, but like when it first came out, the whole point of it was literally, I mean, it's in the name, YouTube. It was literally just anybody who wants to can put a video up here, and then someone can search for it, or they can show it to their friends or whatever. And it's blown into this giant, obviously giant company now that Google bought it and everything. I don't think it started with Google. I'm pretty sure
No,
Google
it was a separate
purchased
owner, yeah.
Yeah. But that's what the internet is.
Yeah.
Is this massive amount of knowledge from a multitude of people. Whether it's worthless knowledge or actually very worthwhile knowledge, it's still random people's viewpoints on everything in life.
I don't think anyone in their wildest imagination could have fathomed it being the way that it is, you know, and how big it is.
No.
But, I mean, they have other platforms. One's called BitChute, which is like what YouTube used to be, you know, unfiltered and stuff like that. And if YouTube continues to go down the path that they're going, I feel like they will crumble eventually.
I feel like they'll always stay financially successful just
Right.
because they're owned by Google. Google knows what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've made mistakes in the past. Like they're getting ready to get rid of the Google Pages or whatever, which was trying to be Facebook. And you all know about that. You might have
Mhm.
had to create a page to create your YouTube account a while back.
I just know.
Google Plus, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Google
Plus,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not Google Pages.
That was supposed to be a social network, though.
It was very much supposed to be like Facebook, but nobody was using it. Like to such an extreme degree, nobody was using it that they hard linked it to YouTube. So if you made a YouTube, you had to have a Google Plus. And then once again, people still continued not to use it. I got an email like a couple of weeks ago for my YouTube account, basically saying, "Hey, we're getting rid of Google Plus. Nobody else can create a new page, and your page will be gone like April 1st or something like that, or April
Cool.
3rd. Yeah, no, that's my point. Nobody cares. But that's like the only unsuccessful thing they've done recently. So I trust that YouTube will still, the whole point of this was that YouTube will still be financially successful, even if you have some content creators moving over to Vimeo or Bit whatever.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Insert random service here, you know?
because it's the people that made, you know, YouTube what it is anyway, you know, because especially all the information, like especially the how-to videos. Like if you Google search how-to something on like a Volkswagen GTI or whatever, that's the kind of car I drive, I can either read stupid like step-by-step shit, but YouTube has the actual camera there, somebody's working on it, shows you directly. That's the only place that you can get that. And I don't think people are going to spend time to, you know, like reinvest like the how-to shit on other websites because there's no way to, you know.
No, if a new website springs up, it won't be that kind of stuff. It'll be the content creation, like the people who are doing the little quote unquote shows or the video game players, the Twitch streamers, that kind of stuff. All of that side of things.
It'll be there forever.
Will. But I was saying that kind of stuff is the stuff that would switch over. Like those are the content creators are the ones who are going to do the new stuff on different platforms. That'll always be there. But like he's saying, like the how-to videos and guides and basic just random shit like that will be on YouTube.
True, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, streamers are going to go wherever the money is, but I mean, they're untouchable on YouTube. You know, I mean, I guess Twitch though is a separate entity in itself, and people use that a lot. People live stream on YouTube, but I don't think it's that much for gamers. But,
I mean, Twitch is more popular for
right.
if you're talking the video game side of things, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all I was just curious what your guys' thoughts were about that.
Do you guys know what? This is real random, but I see the ads for it all the time. What the hell is TikTok?
Oh, dude,
What the fuck is that?
I see that shit all the time. It looks.
No, the ads are always real dumb.
It's like for a new generation. It's like the teeny boppers, fucking what looks like what Vine used to be, almost a little bit, because they're like short videos.
I couldn't
don't
tell
know.
if it was like a Vine ripoff or a Snapchat ripoff or
They just
something
look
like
really fucking stupid. Is what they look like. All,
that. Hey, they
all
got
the
the
ads.
You
they
say
got the
that-
dumb they got the dumb marketing out there though, so I bet it's totally working for the 16-year-old crowd.
yeah.
Probably.
And you say it's dumb just like everyone thought Snapchat was dumb.
Oh yeah,
And then
I
next thing
still
you know,
do.
Yeah,
I use it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a late adopter. I got Snapchat like a year ago.
I just deleted Imager. And you guys know how much I talk about Imager. Like, I reference Imager quite a bit. I deleted Imager about a week ago just because I was spending, like, an hour to an hour and a half every day.
Just wasting time scrolling.
Just wasting time. And it's the information is so fast on there. You don't retain any of it. You're just like, oh, this is really interesting. And then you immediately forget about it like 5 minutes later because you moved on to something else that's interesting.
That's the one aspect
you
of it
just
that I
can't-
never thought about. Is like,
And I'm
it's
like,
a
this
form
is
of
a waste of
entertainment,
my
but
life.
it's literally a worthless form of. I mean, the
Because
same
it's
thing with
so
like.
quick. It's just so quick.
I used to scroll through memes on 9gag, which is the same thing as Imager, but I never thought about it till you just said it, that I don't remember any of them. I don't remember any of those because they're not worthwhile information that's important, and I'm getting such a massive stream of them so fast. It's literally a bunch of laughs or entertainment or whatever, but it's not worthwhile, and I don't retain any of it. As to where if I watch a comedy special, I can remember stuff out of that.
Yeah.
I can remember that comedian and those jokes, so on and so forth. If I go see a movie, that's entertainment value that I will remember.
Right.
I still get on my phone and will like I have the muscle memory of right where that app used to be, and we'll still like go there early on in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I deleted it, and then I have to like
I did the same thing for like 2 months when I deleted Facebook.
Yeah.
My thumb would automatically go to where
get
Facebook was.
addicted to that shit, man.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's to the point where my my 1.5-year-old daughter, she knows how to work the phone and apps now. She knows exactly where to find the PBSKids.org app so she can watch Daniel the Tiger.
I feel like that's crazy to me because I feel like people always make jokes about like when I was a kid I was eating dirt. When I was 1.5, I don't think I was smart enough to eat dirt yet. Like I don't know what I was doing at 1.5.
You'd be surprised at yourself what you did when you were 1.5 years old.
I'm just saying that's the go-to joke that people use. They're like, oh, when I was 2 years old, I was making mud pies. We didn't have phones, you know. I'm like, I don't even think I was smart enough at 2 to make mud pies. Like I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Probably watching a lot of TV,
Yeah, but not watching. Literally just.
experiencing color.
Yes, exactly.
No, you know TV. Like she knows absolutely like who Daniel the Tiger is or who Elmo is. She knows all that. Moana.
I just can't fathom. And I mean, maybe I did too. But I can't fathom that.
She'll start dancing before a song comes on because she knows the song's about to come on.
So do you think that's beneficial for her?
I have no idea.
For her long-term intelligence,
It's beneficial for Paul.
Yeah.
Because we, I don't know, me and Paul have talked about this. You might agree with this, but the fact that it's extremely important at an early age, like what happens to you in life at an early age, because it pretty much sets the foundation for you for the rest of your life.
I mean, yeah, it drastically affects who you are as a person.
Yeah. And levels of intelligence and being able to stimulate portions of the brain and social interaction and things like that carry on for the rest of your life, to where if you don't get that stimulation, then you're pretty much fucked for the rest of your life if you don't experience certain things.
I mean, I feel like early development, it probably gradually tones down, which is why they say like you learn everything by the time you're 18 or 21 or whatever it is for the most part, 25 maybe.
They say what makes you a person later on in life is like up to like 7 or 8 years old.
That's
like
what I'm saying. I bet it
Yeah.
is stronger the younger you are. Like
Yeah.
when you're 3, 4, 5, like when you're 7 years old, I bet that has more of an effect on who you're going to be, what you're learning at that age, than what you're learning at 18, because you've already set in stone what your morals are at 18.
Oh
That's- Possibly.
I mean, yeah, you might be
For
figuring out what you want to do with your
It's
life.
probably more important. It's probably more important what happens to you at 7 and what
you're making
your
bigger-
environment is.
You're making bigger decisions at 18, like, oh, I want to be a doctor, or I want to whatever, like whatever your decisions are in that. But I bet some of that is already made when you're 7 and gave you the ability to think that way.
Yeah.
Is Baby Einstein still a thing? Do you remember that shit? The Baby Einstein like DVDs for babies where you just sit your baby in front of the TV and they did all this like stupid shit, but apparently like the colors and everything was like stimulating the brain in like certain ways.
All right. I mean,
Like-
I could try it out.
My nephew Hayden, my sister Evie like showed him Baby Einstein like all the time. The dude is like prolific and like obviously it could be just more genetics, but it more of a correlation. I might be using that word wrong. But anyway, he's really fucking smart basically. Is what I'm about to say. And he watched Baby Einstein all the time when he was a kid. I don't know.
Do genetics have an effect on IQ?
Oh, I'm sure
I assume.
has
I just
to.
never. That's something I've never thought of or
You would have
looked
to.
into.
I would think so.
So it's not just-
genetics affects everything.
So that
maybe-
means potentially then you can be born with. I mean, excluding mental retardation and stuff like that, obviously, and excluding the extreme ends, like someone who's born a genius or whatever. But like the average person, like, so you can be born with the capacity to only learn so much or to only have a high enough IQ, and vice versa. You can be born with the capacity to like be limited or.
I think it all.
It's not just nurture though.
I don't
Part
think-
of it's nature is what you're saying.
It's a combination of the two.
I don't think that there's a cap, though. I don't think there's a cap where right before you're born, like you can only have an IQ of 150, right? I think that once again, it is part of your environment, what your parents do whenever they're that age gap from 1 to 7. That's so important. I think that's more of a determination of what your IQ is going to be later on in life. Not 100%, but just at least quite a few of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably the majority is, how you were stimulated in your environment and everything and what you were exposed to and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because we did the podcast where there was like this 2-year-old, their parents just left this 2-year-old alone, in Australia or something like that, and these dogs like took her in, and she lived with these dogs for like 3 or 4 years, and her parents just let her. They were drunks, so they just let her stay outside with the dogs. She thought she was a dog.
That shit was creepy.
Yeah,
That's weird. I mean, but I get it. No,
She
like,
ran
'cause
like a dog and everything.
that's what
Yeah.
she
She's-
learned though.
yeah,
and
right.
she's
She's
at that
fucking weird.
developmental age, which goes back to what you were saying about it's so important at that age. So yeah, maybe like maybe the Baby Einstein videos and all that some shit you need to check out and actually is
I will
important.
Possibly.
I'll check it out tomorrow for sure.
And I think also it showed mainly that we cohere to our environment around us more than anything else. Is it shows that we just aren't we end up becoming what our environment is very which should be basic because it's not like you could be born in an English speaking household and then just start speaking fluent like Mandarin.
Which is
That'd be
weird, though.
crazy. That'd be crazy.
Which is weird.
That'd
Like,
be some weird shit.
You have a baby and their first word is like
young
yeah, exactly. Like where the
people
hell
have
did you
woke
learn
up
that?
though. Like grown ass people have woke up like the next day and they speak a completely different language.
I don't
That's-
believe
That
that.
shit has happened.
I don't believe
no,
that.
I do believe that
It's
that's
happened.
got to deal with like chemicals and head injuries and shit like that.
Yeah, but it's definitely happened.
But you would still have to be exposed to that language at some point, and then somehow subconsciously retain those words, and then
It may also not be coherent, like proper sentence structure or anything.
I need to look into it, but I've heard about it. But it's just like the instance of people who have photographic memories. They can look back 20 years and know exactly what they did on that day because that's happened to people. Like they were 18 years old and then all of a sudden they just start remembering absolutely everything that they've done after that day that they turned 18. For photographic memory.
that sounds overwhelming.
Yeah, I watched a 60-minute documentary on it. It was pretty intense. Just like there's like 8 or 9 people in the world, maybe more, that just can remember absolutely everything.
See, I've always been really good at I have a terrible memory when it comes to like my childhood and like I've got terrible long-term memory. But like I've always been real good at you give me a list of numbers and tell me to remember that. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Like can't get it out of my head. Will always know it kind of thing.
Well, that's similar to what that is. Except
But
just with
but it's
numbers.
only I have to consciously try though. I can't just tell you what I did 3 weeks ago on this day because I wasn't trying to consciously remember it. But you give me something like a photograph and say, "Hey, remember this? Give me 30 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever and I'll never forget it for the rest of my life."
But you won't remember which date you saw the photograph.
Nah,
on.
probably not. No.
Yeah.
Unless I was also trying to remember that.
Yeah.
I think I have to be interested in something to be able to remember it. Like if it doesn't hold my interest, then it won't.
See, for me,
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't.
don't
It doesn't
retain
even
it.
have to hold my interest, though. I just have to make a conscious effort
Yeah.
to remember it.
So this is happening, man. This could be the end of the world. I just want to tell
I think
everyone.
I've only heard that like 8 times in
Yeah.
the last 10 years.
I just want to tell everyone out there, and I'm not being serious, but everything that we say is opinion. It's just basically our opinion. We're not coming out here and saying that this is absolute fact. I just want to let all our listeners know that we don't think that we're the absolute truth. It's just what we think, and it's just our opinion on it. I just wanted to get that clear
That's
first.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
that's
we're
how-
just
that's
human
how
beings.
everybody should think.
Yeah, because
hopefully.
we're just human beings.
Yeah, but there are people
Like-
out there. There are people out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if they ever come at us, I just want to say, hey, listen to the 18-minute mark of podcast 53, and you will get the answer that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But anyways, there was a study, and I told you this about at work, and I guess recently they're saying that the pole shift is very intense right now, that the Earth is going through a magnetic pole switch. So basically North and South Pole will switch. And right now, I'd have to look it up, but I think it was more towards Canada, or I could be wrong, but now it's slowly or more rapidly moving to Russia. And I guess it's actually thrown off compasses as well.
That would happen because that's all magnetic. You
Yeah.
know, magnetic field. So that makes sense.
Now, I will say, I know, and I thought about this because Aaron posted something on Facebook about like it was a joke. It was just a joke. It was about like, oh look, Donald Trump solved global warming because
It's cold outside.
of all the cold and whatnot. But then if you literally look it up, like a lot of the cold we're getting right now is supposedly caused by global warming. And you look at the way that it's like, I don't remember all this. I'm not smart enough to remember all this, but it's basically causing this thing that can happen like once every 5-10 years, something like that, where like it shifts the winds down because it's so warm up at the North Pole and all this stuff that it shifts the cold air down and creates this like wave that comes through, which is like why you get the Chicago wind stream and stuff like that. And it's just been shifted lower. So that's why we're getting all the cold right now.
I think I heard something about you're talking about the whole like Arctic blast and everything.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
had. Yeah. I heard that too.
Well, and I've told you this as well. I would disagree that I'm not a big fan of global warming, and I can give you my reasons. Not are they scientific?
Like
No.
you're not a fan as in you don't believe it, or you're not
Correct.
a fan like it's
Correct.
bad.
No, I'm not a fan as into the fact that I don't believe it.
I'm a big fan of global warming. Burn it up.
But NASA of all institutions came out with an article saying that the Earth the past like 2 or 3 years has actually decreased in temperature by an average of 2 degrees worldwide. So I mean, to me, that's not global warming, and I'm always the firm believer that 100 years of industrial revolution is not going to end the Earth or make it you know what I'm saying?
Catastrophe?
Exactly, a catastrophe style of Earth when it comes to weather. It's not going to do that in a 100-year span when the Earth's been here for 4 billion years, allegedly. I don't think humans could fuck it up that fast.
And probably
I
gone
agree.
through a lot
I
of
agree.
volcanic explosions, which releases,
Insane amount.
yeah. The Earth tends to balance itself out with stuff like that.
How big of shits do you think dinosaurs took? Like T-Rex, how big was his shit?
Probably pretty big.
Yeah, or whatever the biggest
Mm.
dinosaur there is.
I
High
don't know.
protein diet, zero fiber. It took a while to get it out, but whenever it came out, it was probably, pretty fucking solid, man.
I think there's one sitting in our driveway.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had just millions of dinosaurs
Just
just
a reference to Jesse's car. I felt like I should point that out.
it sounds like
I was a little confused
With
too.
his
but
Volkswagen.
that's okay.
My bad.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, they
I
had
love my GTI.
a million dinosaurs taking shits that's a lot of greenhouse gases too. Was there global warming then too?
I mean, the Earth was hot. It had to have been hotter then to support the size of
The dinosaurs.
what dinosaurs were.
No, remember the oxygen levels were higher.
And it also takes a higher temperature too, because they were cold-blooded reptilian creatures. So then the Earth had to have been warmer too. So yeah, it was probably higher oxygen levels, but it also has to be.
I don't think it was probably that much hotter. I mean, but if you go from, I think we're like 76 degrees average on the Earth or something, right around in there.
Mm,
I think maybe 80 degrees, but
I'm actually still interested in this poll thing you were getting about.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to go
sorry.
off on a tangent
Sorry.
about global warming.
So the pole switch, man, and I think that could be the start of. So basically, they're saying the study found that there's this massive amount of magma, hot molten magma, underneath the Earth that's just like a river, basically. And I don't know where it stretches from where to where, but that's what the study says, and that's why they're able to tell that it's actually happening as we live right now.
And is that gonna cause some fucking day after tomorrow? Dennis Quaid like level of shit.
Cataclysmic weather situations.
Yeah.
I mean, it could, wouldn't you think? If the poles switched,
I don't know.
internal shit in the Earth's going on. That's going to have to
I
affect
mean, it
everything.
depends how
above.
gradual it was.
True, very true. I mean, they usually did the study every 5 years, and they were due in like 2 more years, but they had to do the study now this year because it was happening so fast. To them, anyways.
Actually, I think that was a part of the day after tomorrow. They talk about the pole shifting,
Yes, they do.
and that I remember that.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good movie.
I like
No,
I like
I enjoyed it.
2012 better. 2012 is my shit. I liked it. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think the Earth just goes through crazy cycles, man. That's my opinion, and
Yeah.
there's just crazy weather all the time. I mean, right now, I don't think that you guys really look up what weather's like everywhere else in the world, but I watch videos on YouTube where you can watch all like the major shit that happened in January all throughout the world. And there's floods there's floods in Indonesia, there's floods in fucking Brazil, there's floods everywhere. Saudi Arabia, a desert, right? Floods. Now, where all was desert, there's this guy who took a video. He's driving down the desert. It's all green grass now in Saudi Arabia. All green grass.
I mean, they've done like archaeological studies to found that actually there's much more tropical places like in deserts, and that constantly changes and stuff like that.
I feel like that's like you said, the world goes in cycles or whatnot. I feel like
Yeah.
that's just the world gradually changing over time.
Yeah.
Just because somewhere is a desert doesn't mean it has to be a desert forever.
Exactly.
And vice versa, the exact opposite. And just because somewhere's tropical paradise doesn't mean it has to be like that for all of for our lifetime. Yeah, sure. It's not going to be a sudden one day it's gone kind of thing unless we did that. Like unless man did that and blew it up, but it's not just going to change in one day.
And in fact, it's the only certainty you have in life is that things will change. So that's just with that thought alone, everything's going to change. So
How
yeah.
how drastic would your life have changed if Will Smith was Neo in The Matrix?
oh man, massively. massively.
I don't feel like that would have directly affected my life.
That would have affected me so much, man.
Same. You know, he casted for it. They asked him before they asked Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, and I'm sure he would have done fine. I like Keanu Reeves, don't get me wrong, but that's so minuscule. Why would that have an effect on your life?
No, I mean, I don't know. Just thinking about it just hurts my brain, because if Will Smith were to take the role, Val Kilmer was going to be Morpheus.
That would have been dope too.
Yeah.
Oh, Lawrence Fishburne is, man, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm
I-
set.
That's what it is, though. I feel like we're stuck
yeah.
into these things because because we've already experienced it that way.
Yeah.
So having someone else do it just sounds crazy.
A little bit.
I just lost everything from the left side.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think that.
What's
vent
up in
has
the
anything to
vent,
do
man?
with it. Yeah, why
What you got going on up in the vent?
Messing with the vent to fix the audio. Oh,
Oh, something's twisted.
we're getting there. I'm just gonna speak softly
Oh,
into
there it
everybody's
is.
right ear.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's
Yeah, it's good now.
it was cool.
Now the big question is there an alternate universe where Will Smith actually played Neo and Val Kilmer played Morpheus?
It's a possibility.
I mean, if you're going with the theory that there's unlimited alternate universes, then wouldn't there have to be?
I guess.
I feel
I
like
guess there's different forms of multiverses, you know?
Which we've gotten into.
Yeah, we have. I guess.
The multiverse is crazy.
I don't want to mess this up.
No, you just.
But I hear. Do you hear static in your right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Play with it a little bit.
Get a little more aggressive, man.
There you go.
There you go.
Dope.
I need to get this shit under lock, man. I got too many chords in too many places. I got to get it all recognized.
I'll just pour my beer on it.
Yeah.
I'll fix it.
You zip tie some shit up.
So do you guys think that a lot of college campuses are liberal recently?
What do you mean by like the campus, as in
Like the
that
students?
institution, or the students? The students, yes. I think that a lot of younger people are liberal in general.
Yeah.
And I can give my opinion on why that is. I believe the liberals from back in the 60s won the culture war, and then it's to be progressive, you know, you have
to be liberal to
you
be
have to be liberal
progressive.
to be progressive. And it's been that way since the 60s.
So conservatives aren't progressive.
In the eyes of the culture.
On the culture side of things,
Yeah.
maybe not like economy and
and
government.
with morality. You're talking about more of a morality standpoint, I guess. Like you're not. It's cool to be liberal. You know that's a young person's.
Just
thing.
the way our culture's moving. Like,
Yeah. But without a doubt, the liberals for sure won the culture war.
I think that's
Rich.
crazy, though, that's happened. Is that really the route that we're going, is to be a liberal country? Like, I'm really not down for that. I don't want free healthcare for everyone and free college.
See, you're not.
and-
You're talking about that's less of the cultural side of things. I think he was just concerning the cultural aspect of things.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Like a lot to do with like rights movements and equal rights, mainly like anti-war, more like stuff like that.
Morality-based things, like people being more vegans that don't want to hurt animals and shit like that.
Yeah. Not so much.
A democratic liberal.
No, I don't even know. See, I don't even know the difference. What's the difference between a Democrat and a liberal? But you can't be a Democrat without having liberal views, right?
So it's the same thing.
See, but why are there?
I bet there's liberals who would not consider themselves Democrats, though. See, I always think Democrat and Republican; those are very bipartisan party lines kind of things. When you can have a lot of different viewpoints within those or in between. I don't think liberal is on that same scale.
Yeah, we've touched on that a little bit, for sure. I don't know. It's just
And honestly, I don't like it. I get that you have to have a term to define people, even if people don't want to be defined. Nobody wants to be defined by a set term, but you have to communicate properly. We have to say these people are like this, these people are like this, so on and so forth. But I hate how there's a status quo behind it. Like if you're conservative, you hear liberal and you think it's bad because everything you've been reading about is from a conservative viewpoint. If you're liberal and you hear conservative, you automatically think that person's bad because you've been shown everything from the liberal media and whatnot to hate that viewpoint instead of just meeting the person and seeing their views, because we've all got real mixed views on everything. I've got real conservative views about some aspects of life and real liberal views about other aspects of life, which I'm sure every human being does. So to classify someone as a liberal or conservative, let's say I lean more liberal. As soon as you call me a liberal, though, certain conservatives, not everyone, but certain ones won't care about my viewpoint no matter what. Even the parts that I might agree with them on, they're never going to hear me out to get to that. Because there's instantly that judgment there as soon as you're labeled as that category. Yeah. When really we're all just individuals who have our own views and we can agree and disagree on different things, and that's fine. That's life.
Right. No, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like you're right. Everyone probably does have a little bit of both, and some maybe, like the far left, have very small amount of conservative views in their head, but I'm sure they're there. They got to be there.
Obviously on the far ends, the farther out on the spectrum you get, like, it's going to be less and less, but I don't think there's anybody. You find me a real person, like find me someone here around here that lives here that is one or the other, hardcore one or the other, and they don't have any viewpoints from the other side. That's insane to me.
Yeah, no, that'd be weird. You feel as though a lot of people would.
That wouldn't even be like a real person at that point. That'd be like a robot. That'd be someone who strictly believes everything that's told to them from one viewpoint.
And probably the closer that you get to the middle of both of those, you would find that a peak in the amount of people that are that. So probably the majority,
right in the middle.
Yeah, probably the majority of people are right in the middle with things.
And people, I mean, when you talk about like voting and actual getting someone into office and stuff on the whole Democrat and Republican side, you just vote for the topics that are, well, you should vote based on the topics that are actually meaningful to you. But a lot of times people just vote on the topics that are brought up to them in media and stuff. Like I've said this for a long time, like the whole, like gay rights, gun control, and abortion. Those are the big three that are brought up all the time. Here's the crazy thing about that, though. How much have they really, things have changed. Things have changed over time, as they always will. But that shit was brought up like back before we could vote. Like this has been an ongoing, constant thing. Every election cycle, a president either supports or doesn't support gay marriage, gun rights, abortion in some way, shape, or form. They have their views on that. And people vote based on that stuff. And I mean, this is just personal opinion, not calling anybody out here, just my opinion. I think those are kind of dumb things to base your voting on when you should be worried about like foreign affairs and the economy and like how much government has control over your life. Those things to me matter a little more than the stuff that we see rarely ever change but talked about.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Well, those are more moral issues. So, like, more on the moral side, do you think those will just change naturally with culture
That's
itself?
That's my point, though, is they will change naturally.
So it doesn't matter so much about voting about it. It's just about
people base their... people will literally be like, I can't vote for him because he supports abortion.
Right.
So you instantly won't vote for the... And this is all hypothetical here. I'm not saying I'm for or against, whatever. This is completely hypothetical. But you specifically just ruled out a candidate who may be the best person for your economy and for your foreign affairs and trade and everything like that, and bringing jobs in, maybe the best for everything you want, but you ruled him out because he supports abortion. Whether he supports abortion or not, those laws probably aren't changing anytime soon.
That's very true.
According to that.
Yeah.
Like, if they do change, it's not going to be because that one person got elected. They've been in a progress of changing.
It should be a representation of the general culture's morality anyway, which... will eventually find its way.
Which is usually how it happens. It doesn't have to deal with the one person who got voted in.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. It's
that
like
makes sense.
I don't really see why we would still be voting people in based on something that's been so long, like you said, abortion or gun rights, because it is really hard to change something like that when you're voted into office, because there's so much other backtracking you have to do to try and even get what you believe instilled into your population and stuff like that. But I think it's time to move on, man. Like, and the reason that we're still doing that is because we have a media that's so controlling of our population.
Because it sells. Because there's people out there who will vote based on those things. Yeah. So they try to sell those topics because they're so, like you said, they're moral topics.
Right.
And they hit so hard to home for certain people.
Yeah. And it's just, I think whenever people realize, like you said, you deleted...
When you should be voting based on, like, your taxes and stuff.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like, you deleted Imgur, you deleted Facebook. Like, I rarely get on Facebook. I've said that many times. And I think when people start doing less and less of that kind of stuff and actually realizing that, hey, you have neighbors, let's help my neighbors. Whenever people get back to the family values like they were back in the day, and I wasn't born back in the day, so I really can't say that. But moving forward, I think that that's the route we should go and actually worry about the economy and worry about what's going on with China and Russia, as opposed to just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like them talking about abortion and the wall and
We've been talking about that forever.
Gun
We've
rights.
been talking about abortion forever. We've been talking about gay rights and gun control forever.
And I'm assuming that the population of people that are religious in the United States is pretty high. There's probably more religious people than not religious people.
And I should specify that doesn't mean those things aren't important.
Yeah, no,
Right.
like, yeah, of
Obviously,
course
yeah.
they're important.
Yeah, I don't want to just throw that out there and be like, don't worry about these things. They're not important. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying.
No, I feel very passionate about gay rights. That's something I feel very passionate about because I believe in people being equal and being able to make their own decisions, and especially if it doesn't affect any fucking body else.
You should be able to do what you want.
That's so simple in my mind. So I'm very passionate about that, and I don't like people being persecuted for just doing things that literally don't affect other people. But this is what I was going to say about there are probably more religious people than not religious people in the United States. Now,
Yeah.
if you're voting on a religious basis, which a lot of people do, they vote because of the church that they go to, and it's this, within their congregation, they all kind of have the same mindset. They base their votes off those moral issues. Verbatim, for a fact, I know this. Religious people will look at the moral issue first, and they decide their vote on that before anything else. They don't care about anything else. Like, if you tend to see a lot of Christians this might have changed, but if you let's say you go back 20 years, right? Christians in America were against gay marriage. The high majority of them were, and they voted on that.
Based on that, which
Not
in
about-
my opinion
not about
is not
anything
something
else.
You,
That was
your
such a-
vote should be based on.
Yeah.
But the politically correct agenda of our government and the media at large right now is the reason why we have issues like that, and obviously religion. Because if you're going to a mass, on a Sunday or a Wednesday or whenever it happens, and you have a preacher telling you don't vote this guy in because he's for abortion, that shouldn't be like that. And people should be
Because
smart,
that's against the Bible.
right? And people should understand that you live a very short time on this earth, man, and we could get a lot more done and be a lot more progressive, I guess you could say, on this earth if we could all just find a means of bettering.
Just betterment of humankind
Exactly.
in general. Just get together and help each other.
History doesn't have to repeat itself. Stop using that as an excuse. Let's actually move forward and stop trying to use that as an excuse. Let's just put all that shit aside and let's get down to the brass tacks and figure out what we need to do.
I wish we
travel
could.
space.
I wish we could, but I think Jesse's brought this up in a previous podcast before about the whole history repeating itself thing. Like you say, it doesn't have to, but due to the simple fact that we're not capable as humans of getting over our petty differences, I think history does have to, on a scientific scale, does have to repeat itself.
Yeah.
Just depending on how you look at it, because right now we're a level 0 civilization, in my opinion. And I think we're all in agreement that there are other Earths out there. I don't know about you or whatever. Not other Earths, but other planets with life on it. Maybe aliens, whatever.
It's statistically improbable for there not to be.
Right.
It makes no sense.
We're level 0 on the totem pole when
there
it
is-
comes to how intelligent we are as a race or as a civilization.
I want to say it was a civil engineer. I don't even know. Some very intelligent person actually created a scale on what he thought would be peak civilization and what peak civilization would look like, and then on that scale showed where we were, and we were fucking way beneath that. It wasn't 0 where you put it, but there's actually a very intelligent mind has put,
You couldn't say 0 without saying there's negatives, because there'd have
Yeah.
to be stuff lower than us
Yeah.
too.
which
Right.
we've seen lower civilizations. Well, technology plays a part, and economics plays in all this. So yeah, you wouldn't go into the
But there'd
negative
have
with
to
that.
there'd have
But
to be
there's-
lower ones than us, just like there'd have to be higher ones.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way we're at the bottom or the top in any way.
we're not even in the third industrial revolution yet. We should have been in the third industrial revolution 40 years ago.
Suppress technology, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and I think that's we don't have to repeat history, and that's just I don't know the words to actually just say what I'm trying to say. It's just frustrating, because we can have a conversation in this room about it, but it's one thing to do it here as opposed to us three going out to the mall where there's going to be hundreds of people and trying to preach, or not preach, but just tell them how we feel on how we should progress as a civilization, and eventually getting a gathering and getting more people to buy into what we're saying. I guess if we're actually trying to do that on a YouTube video.
in a sense, we are. In a sense, that's what a podcast is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until we get lots of followers, I guess we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you agree that you know you just shouldn't be dumb and you should help other people,
Yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, like petty differences, like man, like I've had arguments with you. I haven't had arguments with you yet because we haven't hung out that much, but like we've gotten mad at each other, we've lived with each other, but we're still here, we're still friends, and I think that's the case with a lot of people. You're gonna meet people you don't like, but
You can't be afraid of an argument. Arguments don't have
and
to come
everyone
to
is
fucking
these
blows.
days.
You also-
Everyone.
You shouldn't be offended. You shouldn't be offended by an argument or be
Or you can
feel
be-
as though
you can-
somebody's attacking you because they
you can-
have.
You can be offended, but accept that. Be okay with being offended. Like that's the end of it. You're
Yeah.
allowed to get. If I say something that offends you, that I'm purposely saying to offend you, you're allowed to be offended. Like
Yeah. Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it doesn't mean you have to go out and all of a sudden try to ban whatever it is that I said because you don't want to be offended.
So like you said, like what's the Giver, or is that the book, right?
yeah.
So
yeah.
if no one
I
were
love
ab-
that book.
if no one were able to offend someone, that would be a similar civilization, right?
yeah.
That's very much a
Dystopian.
dystopian
yeah.
kind of.
Dystopian
That's what they're
society.
going for, man. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they're going for, and there's no way that's going to happen. And we need people like Jordan Peterson and other Alan Watts and stuff like that, like people who I don't know. I just like intellectual thinkers like that who actually make sense in my brain because I can't say it like they can, but
Yeah. No. Have a broader perspective of everything as a whole, maybe, and not
They've also taken the time to write it down.
yeah. Well, and
and
put it into
read
good
books and
words.
just read and just absorb so much information on like one topic and just spend so much time.
well, Jordan Peterson
doing research,
he was,
man.
He was like a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
So he like dealt with people every day, and he saw like the crazy people, the cool people. I mean, he dealt with all emotions. He saw it. He saw human behavior. So that's why he makes the assumptions that he does. Or I don't know.
Or he has the opinions that he has, and
Yeah.
and all that.
Dude, offend me right now, I wouldn't care. I probably would instantly for maybe 30 seconds, but I'd get over it and just keep talking.
I feel like
Yeah,
it would take a
well-
lot to offend me.
Okay, same.
Like
It would take-
verbally, like
yeah.
somebody verbally saying something to me. I don't.
Because I don't really care about your opinion that much. If
Yeah,
it's-
like
you think that, but if someone says the right thing,
yes, everybody's got
I'm sure I have something like
everybody's got their tick or whatever it is. But the other thing, I mean, I don't know. You can be offended. That's fine. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier. But there's the comedian Tom Segura mentions it in one of his jokes, and it's really good. He basically talks about the fact that people are so afraid to not have people like them. It's okay to have. You really think you're going to get all however many billions of people are on the earth to like you? Like, not everybody has to like you. And he says, like, he'll meet someone new. Obviously, this is just a joke, but he'll meet someone new, and they'll try to start a conversation, and it's nope. I'm all friended up. Sorry. don't need to hear anything. You got to like, I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. We don't even know each other. Let's just keep it that way.
Yeah.
And like, why is that bad? There's so many people in the world. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you should be a dick like that, obviously, but
yeah.
if you have a conversation, like, and then at the end of it, you don't like each other, that's fine. Walk away.
So do you think what fuels the fire for that is just having a cell phone at your disposal at all times to record any argument or anything that happens between a human interaction to where it instantly gets posted and then everyone has their own viewpoint on it, but no one was actually there. No one saw what happened before the conversation happened, stuff like that.
I mean, that's kind of one of the downfalls to how easy it is for us to all communicate with each other. Honestly, like as a whole, for how you would think that's a good thing, and it is a good thing. It allows hospitals and medical field, all this different stuff. It's a good thing to be able to communicate worldwide. But at the same time, it also means that I'm hearing about stuff, not me specifically, Johnny, but me as a person, random person A, is hearing about stuff that's happening in Washington State when they live in Florida, concerns them in no way, shape, or form. But now all of a sudden they're mad about it and want to get on their computer and have these opinions about it when it literally doesn't affect them. It has nothing to do with them. It's something small. I might even say small, like, if a cop gets shot, like, obviously I don't want cops getting shot. That's not my viewpoint. I don't want that to happen. But if that happens in Washington and one cop gets shot or one gangbanger gets killed or whatever, that affects me in no way. In no way. And I don't even need to hear about it. I don't need to hear about it in the news. Why do I need to hear that?
Yeah,
How will that affect me during my lifetime?
like in Aurora, Chicago?
Negative. Yeah,
like,
it's just negative in your life, really.
well, and that's the thing that we kind of talked about as well, is like they like to bring the negative energy because that's another part of the human aspect that I haven't really even tapped into is like the negative and positive energy that everyone puts off, like how that affects the continuum of the earth and stuff like that. But
I don't need to hear on the news all the time about kids dying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same, dude. I hate that.
I don't
watch
need
it.
to.
I don't watch the news.
And the only time that I maybe do need to hear that information if it happens here.
Sure.
Like if it happens right here and it actually like affects my life or my family's life or whatever, then yeah, I need to hear about it. Other than that though, no. It only brings you down and provides no actual, I'm not even saying positive. It provides nothing to actually change you towards a better person.
Do you think it's good to almost treat someone's opinion as a separate entity outside of themselves? So let's say it's really easy, like a lot of people, and especially on the internet, this is really easy. Somebody says something and somebody disagrees with it. It's probably really easy to attack the person, right? And not so much the opinion or like, let's say the idea.
To give me an example.
Oh man, I'm just trying, like somebody post a political opinion that they voted for Trump. And then out of nowhere, man, this fucking piece of shit, whatever, redneck Republican doesn't. I understand that's really not an opinion.
Yeah, you don't
But
know
it's-
that person.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that the individual ends up becoming attacked more for an opinion than actually just addressing the opinion itself, and why you maybe need to view the two separately because you don't know everything about that person. This is just an opinion. So think about it as a separate entity. That not this person, and think so negatively about this person because they have an opposite opinion of you, because there's so much more to that person than you'll ever get to know in a lifetime. So focus on the opinion, not so much, not the person that said it, kind
So
of thing.
you're
And
saying-
don't ever come at a person because they have an opinion, because now you can start making assumptions that, oh man, I disagree with him here, so everything else about him must be fucking shitty.
You're
I-
basically saying
separate
if I post on Facebook right now, I post on there something very kill all the gays. I post that on Facebook right now.
Yeah.
It's but instead of people, and that's obviously an extreme,
Yes.
but instead of people talking, or I'm like, hey, I agree with Donald Trump. Let's build a wall. Let's build it today. Let's even spend money on it, not make anybody else pay for it. Let's do it. This is my opinion that I put on Facebook. You're saying it's more, and I agree with you, but you're saying it's more likely for me to be attacked
Yes.
than them just discussing the actual words that I said.
Because that's what people are fearful of, especially when you come out with an unpopular opinion. And like I said earlier, that the liberals won the culture war. So you could say that it's harder to have a Republican viewpoint on some things because you're easily attacked. And I think a lot of people feel threatened. That even happened in the previous election. They're like, where are all these fucking people coming from? Like, where'd all these people come from that voted for Trump? Well, they were quiet about it. They don't want to talk about it because they were going to get attacked for having that opinion, which didn't solve anything. It didn't help the betterment of society, because then you're looking
we
at
need to be
you're not
talking about ideas
Yeah.
and not people.
which you need to separate the two. Separate the opinion, discuss the opinion, and do not look at the person as so much. That's why I try to say, I don't know if this is the best way to go about it, but treat it as separate entities. Like,
Well, it goes
to
back
an
to what we
extent.
talked about earlier, like if you lean far left, or if you lean, if you have certain liberal ideas or
Honestly,
conservative.
that does go back to what I
100
said earlier,
yeah.
which is just look at the person and all of their viewpoints and everything about them, not just
What they say in one instance.
what they're labeled as or whatever. But also what you're
Yeah.
saying is, and I agree with you 100%. I've never heard it put that way before, like
Mhm.
the separate entities thing, but I agree with you 100%. If someone posts something that you can I'm saying post because we live in this day and age.
Sure.
And we're
But if
super
someone-
judgmental.
But
you
if
know?
someone says something, doesn't have to be a post on Facebook. If someone says something to your face about politics or whatever, any subject matter, don't put grape jelly on sandwiches. You should only put strawberry jelly. Doesn't matter what it is. If you disagree with them, instead of just attacking their character, have a conversation
Mhm.
about the things that they just said. Actually try to learn something from their side and try to teach them something from your side.
Absolutely.
I think you're right. That's 100% right. I think that's where we went wrong, is now everyone thinks that they're right because they listen to, the media or a YouTube video. And that was the biggest thing for a while. I was like, oh, you listen to YouTube? Like, you're not even right at all. Like, why are you even watching YouTube videos? None of that shit's real. Some of it is factual information.
And no one's willing to change either.
No, but
like when they learn something new, like you should be willing to if I receive new information about something and I'm proven wrong, or I'm allowed to change my viewpoint, and I do change my viewpoint on things. I feel like more people should do that, because I feel like and a lot of people do, but there's definitely the other side. There's a lot of people who are very set in stone
right.
on their beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
And I think everybody's, probably, like, I feel like I'm pretty set in stone on a bunch of my morality.
I am too.
I guess more like economic and like foreign affairs stuff that can fluctuate and all that stuff. And
But you would never hinder someone from having a conversation with you about what they feel about is right, and you completely disagree, but you would still sit there and listen.
oh, of course.
And maybe some of it would strike your brain cells and say, hey, well, this is kind of cool. I never thought of it that way. But most likely it won't, but maybe it will. There's that small chance, you know?
I think you actually have to be able to hear them too, not just listen.
Exactly,
Like the difference
yeah.
between listen and
Oh,
hear,
yeah.
like you can sit there and listen to someone, but if you're so set in stone that you don't care, you're blocking out
Oh, yeah.
everything they're saying, which is defeating the purpose of the conversation in the first place. You
Yeah.
actually have to hear and consciously listen and gather the information that they're telling you, so your head can process it, make a little informed decision, and be like, nope, I still agree with what I'm saying. But at least then you've had the conversation. You know what I mean?
That sounds like you would have to be a very wise and partially enlightened individual to be able to do that.
Well, I feel like I do that, and I don't feel like I'm wise or enlightened. I feel like that's just a regular human
I
thing that
feel
people
like-
should do.
Well, it almost kind of goes against the grain of a lot of things. You have to go against the grain of what feels like just human nature and what's what is like how we interact with people and stuff like that. Like we're set in our ways to be more judgmental because of the society that we live in and because the things are so separated. So you almost have to retrain your mind to
But it
do
doesn't
like
take
to
that
do like
long.
what you were saying to
I
do.
think it's the opposite, though. I think that human nature should. I think that by and far we want to learn new things.
oh, of course.
Maybe we've grown out of that. Maybe the culture has changed, and the media and our constant access to this device in my pocket that has the world's information on it, like maybe that has changed us as a species or as a society. But I think by and far, human nature, like we want to learn things. We're
No,
okay
we
with
do.
learning new ideas and then processing those ideas and then either being like, yeah, I agree with that, or no, I don't agree with that. I think that we have changed to a way, though, where we don't actually listen to what they're saying. We don't listen. Like we hear them, whatever, but we don't actually take in that information. We block it out and just be like, "Nah, I disagree."
Yeah, no, and I agree partly, but at the same time, I mean, work weeks have gotten longer for a lot of people, and just to even have conversations with people like to have a conversation like that even in the first place
Rarely happens.
exactly, because it requires you to be out in public. It requires you to be somewhere where you can actually have a public forum or an actual conversation like that. I'm not going to go while I'm shopping groceries for my family and bust into this conversation about politics because they want to tell me their side of the story. And yes, I'll listen. You don't really have that many opportunities. I don't know if you did in the past, maybe 30, 40 years ago before there were cell phones, if people had more access to conversations like that.
They
But-
might have. I don't know.
Right.
I wasn't alive.
I know, exact same. But now it's like, even let's say that they had a little bit more of time than we did. And I'm not saying we don't have all the time in the world. I'm sure you guys have time to do stuff like that. But like, I feel like most of the time that people do that, it's over the internet. You're not face to face. You're having this, and even at that point, you don't even understand what they're saying because it's over typewritten words.
The closest we get to that is sitting down having a conversation with a random person at the bar. But then you also have alcohol involved,
Yeah.
which changes. It doesn't change viewpoints.
I think that makes you more truthful, to be honest
it
with
does,
you.
yeah.
That's why. Let me finish. It doesn't change your viewpoints. Like
Yeah.
you said, it may make you more truthful. I also think it does the opposite effect, though, of making you more set in stone. You are less likely to actually hear what they're saying. You in your head are waiting for them to finish what they're saying so that you can now talk and say your side of things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And everybody does this, and this doesn't nothing to do with the alcohol. Everybody does this on an everyday basis.
You just don't realize it until you've been drinking a few beers. I've done it.
Yeah, everybody does. And where you're just waiting for them to finish with what they're saying so that you can continue on with your part of the story or with whatever you're going to say next because you've already got it planned out in your head. And I feel like alcohol just does that even more.
That just seems like a negative trait from the human psyche.
That
Yeah, yeah.
maybe we're the center of our own universe, and maybe we care the most about
For sure.
ourselves first and foremost. So
For
that's
sure.
and that comes through in conversation and how we interact with other people too.
You
and
can't
stuff,
have
but
7 billion people all caring about themselves.
yeah, no, you can't. But I mean, yeah,
I would say for the most part, I've actually listened to you guys, and it's made this podcast an actual better podcast because I was listening to what you guys were saying. I was able to add to it and make opinions with it.
Mhm.
I don't think at any point in time was I ready just to go on and say my own shit without listening to what you guys had to say.
Yeah, I'm in a conscious effort to actually hear what you guys are saying so I can form my opinions about it and we can have a real conversation.
yes,
As compared to when I go out at a bar and I give two shits what Jesse's saying. I mean, I do. Obviously, I care. I'm just saying that,
I wouldn't
like,
blame you, man.
no, but it gets to a
Depends
point where
on
there's
how long
enough
I've been at the
talking.
bar.
No, yeah, where I'm drunk, and in my head, I'm like, oh, I just thought of this funny story. So now I'm just waiting for him to finish so I can tell my funny story.
Yep.
Which we all do.
Oh,
Everybody
yeah.
does it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I like that, man. That was sweet and sexy a little bit.
Yep.
It tipped the touch of my culo, man.
Ooh.
Ooh, nice, right in the culo.
So we're getting close to the end of the hour, man. I just want to bring up one more subject. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but have you seen any videos on like Siri or Alexa saying some crazy ass shit?
Yeah, that was a while back that I saw a bunch of that, and a lot of that too is. I'm not saying it is faked. A lot of that can be faked very easily, though. If you have an Alexa upstairs, give me 10 minutes and the internet, and I can get it to say whatever you want by plugging it into your computer.
So you can type in sentences.
Yeah, sure. That program's got to exist.
But but wouldn't you feel like there would be some anomalies though within the actual product?
I'm sure there is. But I feel like a lot of these, like there's one that I saw like 6 months ago or maybe even a year ago that was like, they said, Alexa, what's the weather? Blah, blah, blah. And their kid was in the room and it started talking about like porn sites and dildos and a whole bunch of shit. And I don't think that was because they've been looking that stuff up. I think that was a staged video where they hooked it into their computer and typed all that stuff out and programmed it to answer that way to that voice command. You can easily hack that or what? Hack.
I agree with that, but I'm just trying to think of the anomalies. So basically, and once again, and we talked about this in another podcast, I was mentioning to Jesse that I think it was Facebook created 2 robots, like bots for Facebook that were going to do something, I forget. But they created 2 robots. They actually started communicating with each other. They started having conversation with each other. Then they started making their own language, and no one could decipher it. So they had to shut the robots down because they had no idea what they were doing.
I never heard about that, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No,
That's
no.
really terrifying.
Yes.
But
So
I
what
mean,
I'm
it's
Some
amazing to
robots.
hear about
They
that.
were testing AI. If I remember that correctly, that was a while ago too.
No, it was just 2
like-
bots for Facebook. It wasn't tested. I mean,
Oh, really?
yeah.
But I mean, a bot on like Facebook or whatever is a form of
Sure.
VI,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
virtual intelligence.
So wouldn't you think that would be a possibility that all the Alexas and Siris and Google Homes could start connecting with each other and turn into what we all know it's going to happen? Stephen Hawking said in 2014.
some Skynet up in here, basically,
Yeah.
is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly, I think if you're gonna have a fear about Alexa or Google Home or any of those,
Just them recording your conversation.
yes, the real fear you should have isn't the Skynet takeover. It's the government takeover, the government having all your information, everything you say in there. And not just the government, but the corporations.
Right.
Google knowing what ads to give you
Oh, yeah.
because you talked into your Google Home, which is all your Google products are linked. Even your accounts that are separated are linked because they find, like, if you make an email and then you make a completely different account email and you never linked them together, eventually through like friends algorithm
Yeah.
for like the friends you have on each account and the contact information you have, it will link them and figure out that you're the same person. So then when you look up something on this account that's not connected to this account, next time you get on this account on your phone, a completely separate email, never been connected, you will see ads for what you talked about in the other account.
Right. So what I'm saying is Skynet's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It probably won't be in our lifetime, but it will happen.
If change is inevitable, and all we've seen is at one point in time there weren't human beings, and then there has to be something after us at some point too.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't end with us. We are not the end all be all
So-
of the
Here's-
entirety of the fucking universe.
Here's a real
It's-
question about that. Is that bad?
No.
Are robots, let's say Skynet happens and robots take over.
Yeah.
Getting real extreme here. Is that a different species than us, or is that
Oh,
just
yeah.
is that just the advancement of us? Is that what we've turned ourselves into? We've taken all that is us, information-wise, put it into the computer, put it into Wikipedia and the internet and whatnot, and put it into these devices, and now they've created their own thing and killed off us. They wouldn't have existed without us, though. That's just our transition
Yeah, so we're
into
just
something
a piece,
more.
Yeah, we're just a piece of it.
Yeah,
in the end.
transcending, like you say, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
But so that's the other question. If we had 2 options, 1, they kill us off, or 2, you actually become them. Which I guess how you described it, we already are them.
Yeah, if they kill us off completely, we already are them. We created them.
Yeah. That's trippy, man.
Yeah.
They don't exist without the information that we've given them in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. So they'll end up having the same questions that we had. I think that they'll reach them faster though because they don't require.
But then it'll happen
For
again
sure.
with them because life always changes and continues
Some-
on.
yeah,
It's a cycle. So I mean, is us going extinct as humanity? Is that really? It sounds awful when you say it that way.
Because
Like,
we're
it
human
sounds-
beings, and that's the absolute worst thing that can happen
Exactly,
is
it
death.
sounds
And you
bad.
talk about mass death, which is the absolute
Yeah,
worst thing.
If we were to if all human beings die because of this thing, though, is that actually in the large scale of things, in a universe scale of things, is that bad, or is that just the natural transition?
The
that we
universe
have
keeps on
caused?
going, man. Universe keeps on going. You know, I mean, it's scary, it's intense, you know, but
That's why I like just take it day to day, and small scale.
Yes.
Worry about your close friends and family, not people all the way across the world.
it's probably so far off from anything like that, you know. Anyway,
I don't
but-
know, man. It's just getting real crazy. Just start looking up some robot videos and stuff like that. It gets and just look up like shit that Alexa and Siri saying. Maybe some of it is fabricated, but let's say for 1 in every 100 that's fabricated, one is
One's
legit.
real.
You know,
Then that's terrifying.
yeah, that they're self aware right now. That's the scary part. You know,
And I still don't think they've reached that point. That's my personal opinion. I'd have to look up some
they
of these
are.
videos.
I
that
just
you're
told you the Facebook and the situation. That's legitimate, dude. That was
and I'd have to see that one too.
There's
Yeah.
shit that you will never hear about that is farther than anything you do hear about. Go on ahead and guess that they're about like 30 years ahead of that.
We
like
talked
right now.
we talked about this.
Like-
The one I always use because it's the only one that I actually know of that's set in stone real.
I like this one.
This is a good way to say it for any technology, but the B-2 stealth bomber in the 60s. I don't remember the actual years. I don't remember if it's like 62, 82, whatever. In the 60s though, people had alien sightings, and they were these triangle-shaped ships. They saw a triangle thing of lights. It was all over the radio. People were scared of aliens. Like it was just a big deal. It was a big thing, and everybody, whenever people saw them, it wasn't just like, oh, I saw aliens. People were seeing the same thing. They were all seeing this triangle shape, whatever. That was the B-2 stealth bomber, which they announced that that's what it was and whatnot. But they didn't come out with the B-2 stealth bomber and announce it until the 80s. So you're talking a 20-year difference. One thing happened in 62, and then the other thing happened in 82 or 85 or whatever.
right.
20 years though, from the 60s to the 80s.
They let people
When-
think it was an
when-
alien ship.
Exactly, when
Yeah.
the stealth bomber already existed. As we know, technology grows exponentially the more the years go on.
It's even
Technology advances
way
faster.
way
So-
faster than what it was
so
back then.
what we can't even fathom already exists.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
we can't fathom today in
And-
2019, we will hear about in 2039.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I want to know who holds that technology and who knows about it because it's a select few.
It's some
right?
Oh,
people.
for sure.
Some
It's a small percentage, but I mean,
Do you think that those select few are that dumb where they want war and people to kill each other and blow up countries? No way. Like not a chance. You know. I don't know. It's man.
that's a different discussion.
Yeah. I don't think we want to do a 2-hour podcast.
Nah.
Yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
All right, man. Well, that's it. We're at like a minute 2.
A minute? A
Or-
minute too.
Damn, bro. See, I told
Damn.
you I couldn't talk tonight. An hour and 2 minutes. But that was good. I like it.
Yeah.
That was solid.
Yeah, salt is a bean, man, like an actual bean that grows from the ground, and you put it in a bag, and then people eat it later as refried beans.
Are those that solid though? I feel like I could crush one of those in my hand.
No, not a hard bean. You couldn't.
Okay.
Not a chance.
Let's
man.
go test this right now.
We should. I don't have a bean in my house, but if you guys go back home and you have a bean, try and crush it. You won't be able to, like a pinto bean.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a lima bean. I fuck a lima bean up.
All right, man. Well, thank you guys all for listening out there. I know it's a long podcast, but for anyone who likes and enjoys 1 hour long podcast, please for anyone, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell notification, and to all our junkies out there,
Stay fly and ring the bell.
Deuces.